as a pauper. We all get old, we all slow down as the walls they close. We fall, we drown, and I need some breathing space. I won't grow old with grace. I need some breathing space. I can't keep living straight. Oh, we ain't gonna linger and lie when there's hard cash coming back. No way, I'll just sit here when I know that there's hard cash coming back. Hard cash. Don't want no easy money. Oh no. Money couldn't buy me happiness, just a prettier misery. There's a price to pay for a life of luxury. Oh, the air is thin, the glare, the smoke and the wear within. It tears, it's choking. I need some breathing space. I won't grow old with grace. I need some breathing space. I can't keep living straight. Oh, we ain't gonna linger and lie when there's hard cash coming back. No way, I'll just sit here when I know that there's hard cash coming back. Hard cash. We ain't gonna linger and lie when there's hard cash coming back. We ain't gonna linger and lie when there's hard cash coming back. No way, I'll just sit here when I know that there's hard cash coming back. Hard cash. Don't want no easy money. Oh no. And now that we have all arrived, my friends, get in your cars and drive. And now that we have all arrived, my friends, get in your cars and drive. Gonna drive our blues away. Just another sunny day. Gonna drive our blues away. Just another sunny day.
Hello, Blazor fans. How are y'all doing today? Everybody getting ready for the weekend? Getting ready for a couple days off anyway, I hope. It's been a long week for me. Holy cow. Lots of stuff going on. It's good to be busy though. It's good to be working on a lot of projects that involve Blazor. So we've got .NET Conf coming up. I'll have some news around that eventually. Hey, DevMan NL, welcome back to the show, frequent viewer. I'm going to be working on the Blazport app today, and I don't have any community news just yet. Probably wait till next week. I didn't have any time this week to prepare any. I'm sure there's a lot of great stuff out there. I've been bookmarking things and queuing them up. So we'll have a little bit of a blowout next week on all the wonderful dev community stuff. We've got a couple live streams going on simultaneously this morning, so we might have a little bit of a light crowd here in the chat room. That's okay. I've got a lot of work to do, and I just figured I'd turn the cameras on and let it happen. So what I want to do today is refactor this page out. I've already started a little bit off camera, and because I need to get this done soon, and trying to do every bit of it on the stream isn't efficient enough to get this done in time, I don't think. So I did some really basic stuff that I've done on the show before, and I'll pull up this page in my editor here. So if I go over to the Pages folder, I have an admin folder, and now I have a ports folder. This is new. So what I did is I took this page that we're looking at here, and I took all of the code base that belonged to making that page work and pulled it out of different folders. It was stashed away in data, it was stashed away in models, and I've made a folder under here and kind of made a vertical slice instead and put everything under that ports folder. So now all the functionality for this page actually is right here, so it's nice and easy to find. And we have our form, we have some view models. All that stuff is just nicely detailed in here because it's not used anywhere else in the application, so why put it under a generic models folder? This isn't MVC, right? So we can follow some of the MVC patterns, but if they're not doing anything to help us, we might as well break away and make this more intelligent. So all the port stuff is under here now, and I did some refactoring on the code base as well. I'll pull up the UI portion here. One of the things was removing the actual code. I need to bump up my font so you guys can see really well here on the show. Yep, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Let the Visual Studio lag clear out here. And let me get this font changed back out. I was working in a normal dev mode for a little while, which I haven't done in quite a bit. Bump the font size down, put my screen size back to normal when I'm not streaming, and actually hashed out some code. So I've got my UI page here, and I've taken the code block out. Now, if you don't know how to do this, I actually published an article on it very recently, as of this week, at blogs.telerik.com. And it should be featured up here in the top. It was yesterday. Code It Live, our new stream from Telerik, has just hosted us. Don't know if we've announced anything about that yet, but we're working on a new streaming network from Telerik. See what happened to my article. I don't know why it's not on the main page anymore. It seems to have gotten bounced off. There we go, using a code behind approach. So I did this yesterday. An add into hot swap environments. That would be nice. I have to look that up because I end up just getting stuck on my streaming setup because it's hard to change it all back out, and end up with a bunch of technical issues when I try to switch it back. So Sarah, we didn't announce it, but it just threw a banner across my stream saying that Codeit followed or is hosting our channel. So maybe we let a little cat out of the bag there, but that's okay. So I've got this page. I've refactored out the code behind for it. I popped a link into the stream there. If you want to see how that was done. I've done it on the stream before. That's why I didn't stream it again. And then the code behind for it now is under admin.razor.cs, and this is what it looks like. It's very bare bones now, and I'll show what I did here. Most of this is just backing fields for the form or for the page. These are just places to hold data for the page to interact. We have our onInit async, which loads up our grid and our forms, anything that's database related on those two elements. We have a function that grabs our data from our database and displays a list of grid view items. So I shortened this up quite a bit. Let's see if we can grab our history here real fast. Where is my... Let's see. I know there is a... Or I thought there was a... maybe because I moved it, it doesn't have the history link on here. But I refactored this function out. And what I did is I used to have a mapping function here, a select, and did some manual mapping in here. I moved that mapping to a method on the object itself. So this is a port details grid view type. If we look at this method called from port, I moved all that mapping information into there. So now we can just call the port detail grid view from port. So it'll take a port, it'll map it to a grid view and give us a brand new grid view item back. So that shortens this up quite a bit. And I did the same thing for the form, but in the reverse direction. So you know how we have toString on our pretty much every object? I have a form that has a two port details. So it takes a form and it transforms the form into the entity that we need for our database. So once we have our form filled out, we just call two port details and it gives us a port details object back. So that's nice and semantic. I like the way it works. And now we can just call that function inline here. So our save location function just shortened up a lot. So we just call our database, say add the new item from the form, and then we save our changes, then we refresh our view model, and then we clear our form. So very simple stuff now, nice and clean. And what I want to work on today is cleaning up the actual UI part. I think the coding part of it is pretty routine stuff. Read the blog post yesterday. I think there's an error in it. That's possible. Don't think the base ending should be there. Yeah, I might have. Yeah, that I thought I had edited that out actually. Good catch. So when I was writing the article, thanks for pointing that out. I'll make sure I go back and fix that, Mr. UK. The part that you're talking about, you can actually see it in this project as well. So when I was writing it, I think I had accidentally written that you name the code behind as whatever component name base.razor.cs, which is wrong. It doesn't need the base part. So thanks for catching that. I will go back and tweak that. It's always good to have an extra set of eyeballs. I appreciate that. Okay, misspelled short description on line 55. Oh, I actually misspelled it on the whole object then, because that is a hard... Yep. Good catch. Let's see if our refactoring tools will get it all out of there for us. So we'll fix that while we're in there. And that's why I like to use this name of operator. So it's actually a good example of why I use that. If this was just a string, it wouldn't have fixed it. It would have had to go back and manually update that as well. So that should be better. I'm going to go ahead and stop this from running while we're in here. Right. So what I want to do is refactor this out because, let's see, I already took it. I shut it down. You can't see it now, but this form is just smashed up at the top. It's a big, long form. It's got many fields. And then I have my grid down at the bottom, and it takes up a pretty good amount of space. What I want to do is hide this form when I'm not using it. And when I mean hide, I don't mean in the code like I'm doing here, but actually in the UI. And there's actually some tools I think we could use to help us do this. And I'm already using some of them. So I'm going to go to Telerik.com. And this is not a planned like product pitch type of thing. This is actually how I would tackle this solution to this problem. Something I've done in MVC before. Maybe not exactly, but it's a common scenario here. So we have a grid. In our data grid, we also have this editing pop-up feature that we could add. So we automatically get this nice edit window that comes with the grid. And we have inline editing and in-cell editing as well. We have the ability to do customs and all that. And we could start with this. And when we use these pre-configured, I guess you call them default editors that come with the grid, they are fantastic. If you're pulling data, you're doing forms over data, and you're just pulling data out of your database, putting it directly in your grid, and there's not a lot of difference between the view model of your grid and the database schema. These work extremely well, and you get validation and everything with this. What I always found in my experience is they're a good start unless, you're just front-ending a database for somebody real quick. But when you have like complex logic that's going on in most applications, you start leaning towards a custom version of this and looking at ways to customize the form inside of that pop-up. And if we look inside of our app, we have a lot of custom things going on. First of all, our grid is showing a view model. It's not our direct object out of our database. So there's some transformations happening between the data being shown and the data that actually persists in the database. Some of that is modifying the description, and there's some fields not being shown in here. We've also got, let's see what else is in here, a drop-down box that needs to be populated, so that wouldn't automatically happen. So we're going to end up leaning towards customizing this anyway. So what's really nice is all of the components that make up this experience, this pop-up form, they're available for us to use ourselves. So if we look at that pop-up, it's actually called window. We have a window component that we can use. So we can pop up a window with our form in it, and we could hide that when we don't need it. So that's nice. And we would have complete control over it. So let's actually add one of those to the form. If we go to our imports.razor file, this is the wrong one again. I want my absolute root one just to make things easy. We will go, and we've already specified a couple Telerik components in here. We'll add one more using Telerik. And I'm going to misspell using, just so SMB-AUK or some ABUK can correct me on that one too. I am in the opposite of proofreading mode today. I am in error-prone mode, running on very little sleep. All right, so components, and then we want our window component. All right, so our window component is going to go, I'm going to close some of these out too, by the way. We don't need those open anymore. And I'm going to start way up here at the top because I have this edit form right here, and this is the piece I want to hide. So we're going to encapsulate this. We actually close this down while we do it. And we will put in a new Telerik window. Make sure that highlights for us. My highlights are in orange, so we'll wait for that to highlight in orange. Boom, pop that back up. And now we have a Telerik window around it. Ah, SMAB UK? I got it. Okay, cool. Thank you. And our Telerik window, let's go ahead and just throw this up here as centered equals true, just so we could see what it looks like. And then inside of this, we actually need to specify which part of this is the content. Telerik window content is what we want. Telerik window content. And then we need to move the content below, below our edit form and encapsulate all of that edit form in the content. So we have window, window content, centered as true. Let's go ahead and add a title to this pop-up. Telerik window. Title. And some of this verbose markup will actually be going away in a future version. Don't know which version yet, but what we'll end up with is most likely Telerik window at the top and then title and content below. So we won't have to retype Telerik window and feature for everything. So in the title, this is just an area that we, child component area. So we can say strong, and this will be a new port details form. And then I have spell check in here, by the way, SMAB. That purple underline is my cue to fix my spelling. Because I am a terrible speller, I will not try to hide that fact. I've tried many different ways to improve my spelling habits, and it's just part of me. Can't get rid of that. So we'll give this a run. We'll see if this window actually takes effect and what it looks like. I'm running from console again. Still having issues with IIS, actually. It's something I did to the project and was never able to figure out what went wrong. So now I've got nothing. My form is gone. Why is my form gone? Let me empty my cache here real quick and make sure that I'm getting all my style sheets and everything that I need. All right, so it appears that I broke something. Let's go back and take a look and see what it is that I could have possibly done wrong. So I've got Telerik window content, edit form inside. Ah, I know exactly what it is. You can't see it if it's not visible. All right, so we need to make that guy visible. We will make that visible. We'll rerun it. Adam Snyder, yes, this is server-side Blazor right now. Pretty much anything that we're doing in here can be done client-side. The only reason I chose server-side Blazor over client-side for this is I am using ML.NET, and ML.NET does not play well with client-side Blazor. It involves a couple more hoops to jump through with making HTTP requests and whatnot. And debugging is better. Yes, excellent point. Because debugging is still non-existent in client-side Blazor, so server-side Blazor definitely better. So now we've got our custom form showing here. I've got a location I need to delete. But this is our form. Still not quite how I want it yet. This isn't really nice. There's also no way to pop this form up. What I'd really like to have is something that resembles like Twitch, where if you're looking at your Twitch UI right now, you've got those nice little flyout panels that come out of the left and right hand sides of the screen. I'd love to have a button that I can hit and just fly out this form from the side. I think that'd be pretty slick. And I think we can pull that off with the window. So actually, let me go back here. And oh yeah, it's strange that the default is not visible. Well, most of the time you don't show the pop-up until it's needed. So I think that's why we do that. For example, if it's built into the grid, which is one of our uses for it, you don't show it until you click edit. So it's normally something that is hidden by default. So here's what I want to do. I want to make this look cool. I have a nice modern UI approach. Let's see if we can pop this window off to the side. Yeah, that works. That works for me. So I want to do some CSS editing here, just live CSS editing. And let's dig through here real quick. I want the topmost level of this this pop-up. Yeah, I get what you're saying with the booleans usually default to false as well. So that could also be part of it, if not the reason. I'm making assumptions. I didn't write the components. I don't know exactly why, but I do know that it's more common to see it off by default than on. But we're going to go to the top level here, and we can see there's some positioning and stuff going on in here. I'm going to actually just new up a class here. Let's see here. Let's see if this does the trick. I'm hitting this new button, just hacking on some CSS here. I want to say top is 0, because this is an absolute positioned element. And actually, I need to turn off centered first, is what the problem is here. This isn't going to work until I turn centered off, because I'm gonna override the CSS and make this happen, make this display where I want it to display. So I'm going outside of the normal behaviors of the framework, the Telerik UI for Blazor framework, and I'm going to customize this pop-up to have a different behavior. And let's see if I'm still building, I think, in the background here. Yep. So here's our app. And this might be a pattern, a UI pattern that I use throughout our app as well. So now you can see I've taken centered away. Now it's over here to the right-hand side. We'll do inspect again. Grab that top level. You can see there's a missing element style here. So when I took that centered off, it's not styling anything at all there. And I want top 0. There we go. So that put that at the top of the page. Right 0. Oops, that's the wrong side. I don't want it on the right. Put that on the left. Left 0, because it's absolute positioning, right? So we've got our absolute positioning. And now we can move this around our page where we like to see it. I can say width is equal to 50%. That gives it a little more real estate. Height is 100%. And we can then stretch that form full length. And now I've got a half panel form. So what I want is an experience where I click a button, I get my form, I fill it out, I click save or close, the panel goes back off the screen and I don't have to see it. So that's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and let's give this a class, which we haven't defined yet. I'll call this flyout. How about that? Flyout panel. That's going to be our class that we assign to the Telerik window component. Because what's nice about the Telerik components is they are customizable as much as you can imagine. I'm going to go into my SAS file. I'm going to grab my all.css or Sass. This is Sass, and most of our stuff is getting imported into our CSS. And I've got some things lingering out here. This is my sandbox. This is where I do my dev. Flyout panel. Once I get my work done inside of this all CSS, I will actually move this to a component CSS or Sass file and let it get imported in. But this is a nice, easy way to have a workflow. And I want to go back here, and it actually I can pretty much remember how this went. It was top is 0, left is 0, and then width was 50%. Height is 100%. So that is my custom flyout panel that I'm making from our Teleric component. 0 px. Did I put no? It's 0. It should just be 0 0. And my Sass has to recompile. And then I shouldn't have to change anything. Oh, I need to get the class up there. So I created the CSS class, and it is now in my CSS, but in order to get this class to apply, I need to recompile my app. So that's why I'm not seeing any changes yet. So we'll go ahead and reload the application. So make sure I'm not hanging my console again, which was a issue I had in my previous shows. I kept accidentally hanging up my console. Now that is running. Now I can pull up my ports page, and there is my CSS taking effect. So I want to do a little bit more with this. I want to make this a little bit nicer. And I want to add, since it's a pop-up initially, it has a rounded edge on it. I want to take that rounded edge off. So in my flyout here, we could say border radius is 0. Now it's a nice hard chiseled edge, so it looks like a panel. Another thing that we might want to have here is we want to have a box shadow that drops on the right hand side. So let's play around with that. So I think it's box shadow. So we've got box shadow. And then box shadow has a couple values to it. We might have to look this one up. Box shadow. CSS box shadow property. I want to give it a drop shadow on the right hand side. So yeah, let's see what's in their demo here. So this kind of shows a interesting example of how box shadow works. Let's see, what was the first property? Because there's a bunch of properties in here. And let's see here. There are 3 in that one. That's a JavaScript syntax. Here, this is what I'm looking for. We've got no box shadow or an offset, horizontal offset, a vertical offset, a blur, a spread, and a color. So we've got a couple things that we can add there. So the first one's going to be the horizontal offset, blur, or V, offset, blur, spread, color. So let's think about this. Here we've got box 1, box shadow. I'm going to borrow this for a minute. So I can't remember all these off the top of my head. So we'll drop that here for a moment. And we'll throw a little remark block around that. So we have our little bit of documentation there, and we can fiddle in here for a moment. So we have our offset. That's what's pushing this off the box a little bit. I think that's something we're going to need for us. I don't think we want a vertical offset. So if we change that to 0, hit run, that gave us, it's a little hard to see here, but that gave us just, I might need some margin on this so we can see it better. Margin right, 20 pixels. Let's see if we can, let's do 200. There we go. So now you can see there's like a heavy border on this side here. So we're getting where we need to be. We're getting that box shadow where we want it. Blur. Let's see here. Let's try 10 pixels. Run that. Ah, there we go. We've got a blur there. And spread. If we adjust the spread, we can get the top and bottom shadow behind. So if we do, well, here, let's try 5 pixels first. I think this will make it go bigger. It did. If we did -5 pixels, that would make it smaller. And it kind of sucked it in a little too much. Let's go halfway, meet in the middle, say 2. That should be about right because the top and bottom are going to clip off the screen anyway in our scenario, so we don't really need to worry about that. And then we can adjust the color. I think I like this grayish color here, so we'll borrow that, stick it there, and that tones it down just a bit. I think that's good. So we'll grab this box shadow now that we've hacked away at it here, and we'll go back to our CSS, apply that there, save it. Saving it should trigger a compilation of our SAS file, but I don't have my project running anywhere, so I do need to rerun it. Come up really fast. It's nice to see the compiler working for me today. Usually it's slow and hangs up a bit. Now we've got that there. Oh, I forgot to put my border in there. So we can go back here and say border radius is 0. So no border. Let SAS recompile. Might take a second. We can refresh our page, and instantly there. Now it's a nice like monolith of that pop-up coming out and covering the entire side of the page, and we can see our grid behind it. Yes, there's a little bit of scrolling action there. I'm not sure if that's going to be a problem or not, but this looks pretty good. But now we need a way to close it and get it off the screen. So thankfully there are some things that we can do here. So we need a variable here that we can toggle. So I'm going to go into my code behind file, and we'll add a new value in here, a new field or property. I'll use prop tab to get a Boolean value going. And we can say editor visible. Why am I getting... Oh, I already have one. I must have been messing around with something yesterday and dropped that in there. So editor visible. So I've got a value for that. And we can say editor visible here. And then we can toggle that value. So right now we don't have a visible editor. We need to put a button or something we can click to make that toggle. So let's do an on-click event. On-click equals, we can just throw a lambda out there real fast just to get something going. But we'll probably extend this in a minute. Editor visible equals true. That's one cool thing about Blazor is we can do stuff like this. Add new record. So we can just set visible to true right here in line. We're going to have some more things that need to happen, I believe, as we configure this. So we'll put some more logic into our code behind after we get our proof of concept going here. Doesn't need the second @ anymore. We'll double check that in a minute. I think you're right. I'm a little confused as to when it's necessary, when it's not anymore, because they keep changing it. So we can click add new record and instantly it pops into existence and there's no way to close it. So we can go back here and do some more tweaking. All right, editor visible is true. Let's see, is that second @ sign still needed? It is not. It's able to figure it out on its own. All right, thanks, Smab. All right, we can add actions to a Telerik window. So let's do that. Telerik window. Actually, it's not. Yeah, Telerik window. I think it's actions. Actions with an S. Then Telerik window action. And we give it a name. Close. An icon. Close. And I think this can be a self-closing tag with an on-click event. On-click, and I'll steal this. Put it here. Change the value. So now we have a way to open and a way to close. We rerun the app, take a look. Let's see if this does it. And then we navigate back to it again, and it's closed. We can open. Look at this nice close button. Just all I had to do is specify the icon. There it is. Wire up the button click. There it goes. So that took our form off the page. I like that. That looks a lot nicer. And it just pops up from the side there. Kind of pops up though. I want to animate that. And I think I could do this with CSS. I was playing around with some animations yesterday, trying to see if this was a possible thing. And there's an animation CSS, what do you call it? CSS property. And we can mess around with this. So there's some examples here on keyframes. I don't think we need keyframes. We'll probably do something relatively simple. Let's see what this does. Run. Oh wow, that does a lot. I don't think we need to do all of that. Let's play around. I'm going to take off all the WebKit stuff just for simplicity's sake. We may need to add those back. I don't know. I don't think we need that WebKit stuff for now, just so we can make this easy. And I edited that, edited those things out. Those are all Safari. I think there's WebKit, Safari, yeah, Safari related things. So what this does, it starts with a background color of red. And then this one has keyframes it goes through. I don't think we need keyframes. Let's go back up. Let's back up. Let's just see regular animations. To and from, transitions. Let's try it again. Let's see what this one does. So this one just bleeds in one color to another. So let's see here. It's not quite the animation I'm looking for. I want, let's see what we've got for an API listing here. Oh, there is a ton of examples here. All right, animation name. There we go. No, that's not it either. Animation direction, duration, fill mode, play style, timing function. Let's see what the shorthand property says. There we go. Let's see, my move. So let's see. We create our own animation and then we name it. That's how it works. I'm thinking of transitions. These are animations versus transitions. So the API here is animation, the name of the animation, which we specify here. So we do need keyframes. And these are the different, what do you call it? Property values. So these are the name, duration, timing, and delay. There's no quick reference for this, huh? Animation name, play state. So this is kind of what's here. Let's try this again. All right. Yeah, there. Oh, all right. Corey is giving us a raid back from. We've raided Corey a few times in the past weeks. It's nice to get a raid back from Corey. So hope your stream went well, Corey. Copper Beardy coming in with the raid storm. How are you all doing from Corey's stream? Welcome to the show. Chef Brent in the house. Right. Mr. Robert Tables. Hello, guys. How are you doing? How's everybody today? What were you talking about on your stream, Corey? Was it a Blazor again? We're doing some CSS animations at the moment. So actually what we need here, let's take out Safari to not get confused. I'm going to steer away from transition at first. I think we can do this with a quick animation instead, and they seem to be a little bit smoother than transitions, like fire at odd times and stuff, I find. Let's pull this one out too. And oh, it will be Blazor. It will be. Trust me. So we're doing nothing here but making the already red box red. Let's see if we can move the box. We don't really care about the color. So the box was moving in the initial example there. Hope I didn't break this too much. So the keyframes are, the 100% is the state of the animation. So when it is at its final point, 100%, that is what it does. So if we started, let's say if our div started at the left at -50%, because our thing is using 50%. Let's run. That's off screen, and then so Corey, what we've got. Let's go back real quick for folks that are just joining us. We have this edit form, or this page that has a grid of data. We just added an edit form to it that pops up like this. So with a little bit of Telerik UI components and a tad bit of custom CSS. Not much so far, but now we can pop up a panel. But what I want is an effect where it slides from the right-hand side or left-hand side into the view. So we're working on a little bit of CSS code that I think we can do to make that happen. And I think this should be relatively easy. Famous last words. And what we're doing is just tinkering around with a real-time editor here. Oh, look. I went away and came back, and it's working. I think that it's the timing here. So, hey, look. It's doing it. I think the timing is off. So, it's too slow. So, 0.05. Let's try that. Oh, wow. So this is working to some extent. Let's do a width of 50% here. And maybe that'll stop being so erratic. So it's going to be larger. All right. So that's a thing. All right. So it's going in and out. 100% height, which is much more like our panel. Did I break it? Why did I break it by putting 100% height? So this only works with pixels for some reason. Don't know why. So, oh, I know why height doesn't top me. No, top shouldn't have been an issue with that. So left. Let's run that again. I guess the height doesn't really matter right now. Oh, maybe it does. Position. Ours is absolute. Position. That seems to still do what it's supposed to do, but that would explain why height didn't work. So maybe now 100% will work. See if it fills up the entire panel here. Yeah, there we go. There we go. We have a flyout panel now. I don't think we need this because we don't want it to run infinitely. We just want it to run once. Ooh, but it disappeared. Do we need that? Yeah. So I don't want it to disappear. So let's see what keywords we have here. So this is our animation name, our duration, and our timing function. So let's look at our timing function. And let's see what other timing functions are available. Timing function. Let's see, there is linear. Ease, start, stop, steps. Yeah, that is not what I need either. Let's look through our list again. Let's see what other properties we have. Animation delay. I don't think we need a delay. What we want to do is animate once and then not animate again. Iteration count. Let's see what some of these properties do. Timing function delay, iteration count. We don't want infinite, that's for sure. We could put a number in there. It seems to do it and then disappear though. So let's try let's try 1. I'm going to do this once. Why it's disappearing like that? Oh, Mr. Magoo, I didn't notice you changed your name. I saw somebody say something about a name change, but I didn't see that. Are you starting a Twitch channel, or you just were able to change your name? Yeah, I did see the new theme editor. I did not get a chance to test that out, but it does look pretty cool. So I don't want this to keep going on forever. Let's see what else we have in here. So I looked into timing. So it's linear, same speed beginning to end. That's probably not. See what direction, alternate, reverse normal, alternate reverse. That's not it. Fill mode. Aha. Let the element retain its style and values from the last keyframe when the animation ends. Dun dun dun. That's it. Forwards. Forwards. So that makes no sense to me. The word forwards just doesn't scream like the number of iterations, yeah, but boom. Look at that. Nice. And then we can change this guy out. So the duration, nope. Timing function. Let's mess around with some timing functions. Let's try ease. Ease. That one's pretty slick. There's ease in. I didn't see any change in that. Maybe it's happening too fast. Ease out. So ease out slows down as it comes out. Is there any way to have a scheme figured? Not sure. Let's see. Waiting until I can make a good theme, rainbow theme to troll a certain someone. Is there a way to have a scheme to be configured per solution? I don't know what scheme you're talking about. Hope you don't have scroll bar issues with that kind of animation. Yeah, I could see where a scroll bar would be annoying if it was a horizontal scroll bar. So ease in should get faster at the end. Oh, it didn't. Ease in got choppy. I think I like ease the best so far. Ease in, ease out. So has a slow start, has a slow end. Slow start and a slow end. I think I like the slow end. Oh, look at this. This is probably... Okay, no, it's not. All right, that's going too slow for me to even care. I think this is where I want it. So let's go ahead and grab the standard syntax here. And we will put that. So we're going to create a my first fly out animation. So this is going to be our flyout animation. Then we can take this and put it in our component. And we need to put the name back up here. So flyout animation. It's going to be 0.7 seconds with an ease forward to stop it from reanimating. Oh, you want to try that cubic Bezier? I don't know how you pronounce that. Did I spell that right? Probably not. That's why it's not doing anything. Oh, there's a dash in it. Define your own values. Oh, yeah, that's a lot of work, I think. Yeah, I think I'm good with just using the default ease. We'll do an ease animation here. And, okay, we've got that already. Fly out animation, ease forward. Now, what I need to do here is I need to set my left to negative 50%. Now, I will take a moment to say I don't know how this would affect accessibility. I'm just being open and honest here. I don't know. So I'll need to kind of ask around and see. Another raid incoming. That would be nice. So let's see. Boom. There's our, look at that. That's nice. So there is our animation in. Don't see an animation out though. It just kind of disappears. But that's the animation in is nice. Boom, boom. Very cool. I'm trying to figure out how we would be able to trigger the animation out, because I have a feeling that this, when I click close, it turns it to false. Immediately, it's gone. So I would need to have a mechanism where I change the style, which triggers an animation to move it off screen, and then a timing function of some sort to then remove it from the screen. That I don't know how to do with Blazor. It seems to be a difficult issue. Oh my lord. We've got a huge raid. 90 viewers coming from Mr. C# Fritz's channel. Holy moly, we've got lots and lots of people joining the show. Thank you for the raid. We've got 2 today from Corey and now from Mr. Jeff Fritz. Jeff, I hope your stream went well. I tuned in for a few minutes before I started my show today. So, it is nice to see all of you. We are chatting up some Blazor dev. We're doing a little bit of CSS and whatnot today. I'm going to go ahead and pause, if I can, and The stream, my stream deck is not allowing me to pause all of these wonderful followers, but I need to kind of pause it so we don't kill all of our ears. So let me see if I can find my alerts. Whoa, sorry, wrong button here. I'm gonna go all crazy here. Try and just pause something here. My alerts need to be disabled for a moment. There we go. That should do the trick. Thank you for all the new followers. We've got quite a few rolling in. I am the one Jason Horner. Justin Horner. Sorry, not the just in, but Justin Horner. Kentucky Bass Hunter. Cryptic Enigma. Codeman Codes. Dragon Knight. And GS Volt. Thank you for all the followings. Very, very nice. Very nice. Thank you very much. So we're doing some Blazor dev. We have a grid of data here. So this is a pretty handy grid. We can do all sorts of really cool stuff in here. We can do a filter. We can say, give me all of the United States. If I can spell correctly. So boom, we can say if it contains the United States, give us that. We can put a little or statement in here and say give me all of the places that have United States and Japan. Maybe I don't have any Japan. Oops, maybe China. There we go. So our filter's pretty flexible. It's got and ors and all that good stuff in it. Another follow from Tama343, thanks for the follow. So we can do some sorts and filters and all kinds of cool stuff here in our data grid. What we are working on today is adding an editor for the for adding new records and whatnot. And what we've come up with so far looks pretty good. And it hasn't taken us too long to add this functionality because we're using some third-party components from the Telerik UI for Blazor Suite. So we have a Telerik grid, and we have a Telerik pop-up that we've been modifying over the last hour to have a slick slide-in, fly-in animation. All so far done with CSS and just a little bit of CSS. And the code was literally just wrapping our form with a pop-up window. So my next discussion was, how do we take this flyout? When we click the close button, there's no animation. I'd like to have that nice animation to come in, but there's a little bit of a dilemma. When I click close, if we look, let's see what actually happens to our pop-up form for one. It actually gets removed from the DOM. So we just saw it ease in right there, close, and then it is gone. It is no longer with us. So what's happening is I can animate this in because when I add a new record, the elements added to the DOM, the animation kicks off and comes into view. When I click close, this goes away. So if I do add an animation, it won't matter because the element's gone, there's nothing to animate. So what I actually believe that I need to do is I would need to have my CSS class be toggled instead of setting the visibility to false. And I'm trying to think what would be an easy way to do that. Because what I want to do is have a little piece of code that says change our class to another class. When I change that class with another class, it will then animate the opposite direction, taking it off screen. But then when the animation completes, I want to set visible to false and take it out of the DOM. That is where I'm stuck. because I'm either going to need some kind of timer or something like that to do that type of work. So non-intuitive behavior to set visibility to false. Okay, that is. Is there a little bit more you can elaborate on that? Because it's actually done quite a bit, I believe. Not saying it's not best practice or anything. I'm just saying it's common practice. So most languages keep them in the DOM. I'm not sure about that. So this may have been something we did in jQuery, keeping them in the DOM, but for pop-ups and things, so a lot of that gets taken away from my experience if you're not using it. What we wouldn't want to do is have users able to navigate to it, display it and things if it's not meant to be there. So, interesting idea though. I would really like to add that close animation, but I'm not quite sure where to start with it. Let's see if we can at least throw the animation bit on there. Let's make that work. So we can have some baby steps here. We already have a flyout panel. I wonder if changing the animation alone is enough. So if we did an override on this, it's dot flyout panel. Let's say we want, let's do a whole new class for now. Close. Yeah, it's the closing after 7 seconds that I'm trying to figure out. Do I put a timer? Do I just use a normal timer on the page? And then call StateHasChanged and force it to go away? Can I just do a task delay and make that happen? Is that bad practice? Do I want to do that? There's going to have to be some kind of timing mechanism, though, to, quote, close it after 0.7 seconds. And then I need to swap this animation out, too. So it would already be at... I need to copy the animation as well, which I don't know if I quite need all of this, but we can always refactor it out, right? So height will stay the same. Width will change. Our starting location will be 50%. Actually, the width will be 50% as well. But we are going to... We're actually animating the left here. So left is 50%. We want to go to negative 50%. Let's see if that does what we want it to do. So if we toggle this flyout panel closed, we need to put a different animation on here too. Close animation, flyout animation, close. And put the animation name in the property. So now we have two separate classes. If we toggle that class, then we change the animation, which then should trigger it again. At least that's how I envision it happening. Let's just test this out by putting a button here. And I'm going to put... we need a field. So I need a field that is a string. And the string is going to be panel CSS. And our default value for the panel CSS, and there's a little library we might throw in here if we need it, later that can handle these dynamic CSS values if we need it. It's going to be flyout panel. Make sure we grab this whole string here. We'll set this as our default value. That's our opening animation. And now we can go back and set our CSS. And I'm thinking outside the box here. This is really not something that we would possibly do with these components every day. So this is just kind of prototyping some things out and seeing what works. So we'll drop that panel CSS in there. And then on our button click, we will say panel CSS equals, it's going to be a string now, and we will grab CSS file, grab our flyout panel close style, and we will put it on there. And I'll just call this button test. So I'm just testing to see if this animation ID even works. So if I toggle that animation, does it make the panel slide off the screen? Now, if it does, then we possibly could keep it in view. That's another thing. Going back to Ecomath that said it's non-intuitive to set visibility to false anyhow. So maybe we do keep it in the view and we just slide it off the page. Let's see, our app is not running. Let's try Control F5 again. Control F5. Oh, I see. I've got a console that was locked up over here. So I'm just going to come over and hit this console, wake it back up, or maybe just close it out. Control F5 again. There we go. These builds have been nice and quick. I think it's because I'm not debugging right now. And we can now test our animation. And here it is. So we're going to navigate over to the port page where we're configuring these elements. I can't. That was just a bad decision. I can fly this out, but since the button is behind it, I can't click it to test whether it closes or not. Whoa! It just went zooming by. I don't know if you guys caught that, but that did not work. So yeah, there's a inherent problem right there. Is if it's already visible, I know exactly what's happening. This is hilarious though. I love the animation effect. So I'm bringing it out and I'm closing it. And then if I tap this, I change the CSS class. So now when it appears, it's coming from clear across the darn screen. And it just goes zipping across. Yeah, that at least it's providing good entertainment. I need to move the button somewhere. So if I don't take it out of view and I just toggle the animation, it's not going to re-trigger the animation. So I have to remove it from view to re-initialize that animation. Thanks, Coefficient. I don't know if that is a rave review. It's just like flying. I'm really tired. Maybe this is a little more entertaining to me than it is some of you. But seeing that fly across the screen is cracking me up. The unintended consequences of CSS are just baffling at times. It makes total sense, though, which is the important part. I understand completely why it's doing it. So what I need is, I need the button where I can actually trigger it. Let's put it inside the panel. So put it inside the panel. I actually be able to see it when it's open and be able to click it. Reduced motion media query? I don't know what a reduced motion media query even is. This is something I would have to look up. Unless you're joking, I have no idea what you're talking about. Again, I'm a little tired today, so this is too much fun. I love it. This is just trying to think outside the box. Sometimes you get some weird behaviors here. Okay. Let's people with disabilities or special needs turn off animations. That's awesome. I haven't gotten that far. I think it was before the raid that I said that there may be some unintended consequences of what I'm doing and it's how it affects accessibility. And I probably need to have somebody look into the accessibility aspect of it. And yeah, so the animation is completely wrong here. And then once it's triggered, I can't re-trigger it because it's not resetting. So there is actually 3 steps that need to take place here. When it is visible, the CSS needs to toggle, and then when it is changed, it needs to toggle back. It's really going nuts. Yeah, so I did something wrong with my animation. I'm trying to figure out what it is. Oh, I think I see it. Yeah, left should be 0. Left should be 0 right there. Yeah, yeah. There's all sorts of reasons why people might want animations turned off. So I totally understand where you're coming from. I just haven't quite got there yet. This is just kind of hashing an idea out to see if it's even possible, and then we'll cross that bridge next. Which I'd probably have to phone a friend to figure out how to do that. So that works. What if we change, instead of turning it visible and invisible, let's set visible to true. And let's, sorry, I'm still seeing that panel flying across the screen in my head. That's just ridiculous. Let's change out the panel instead. So if we're opening it, we assign that, which we don't want to default to then. Let's put this as nothing. Let that be an empty string. And then we will fly it out and we will close it back. And we need, oh, we can move this here. Let me take this delegate and stick it up here on the on click. Some people are actually sensitive to like motion sickness. There's vestibular disorders that make people have vertigo if they see animations. There are plenty of reasons to disable animations. And then for the folks that don't have any issue with them, they offer nice UX cues. Uh-oh, I broke something. They can offer nice UX cues to help show where things are happening in the UI. I think Windows Phone was a brilliant example of how to use animation cues to identify how the UX works. So they have benefits, and there's also trade-offs, right? Just with anything else that we use in development, there are trade-offs and negative. Yeah, Root Windows Phone is right, but there are considerations that we need to make with any technology that we use, whether it's animations or using a framework like Blazor even. There's trade-offs of performance and the weight of the download and payload size, what I was getting at, I guess. All those type of things. Oh, we have to start it at least off screen. Oh, okay, so we've got close to what we want. Look at that. All right. Need sound effects. That's pretty interesting. I can see the shadow still too. So that needs to go away. So this actually works. What we'd want to do is pull the shadow off of this. We also need like an initial state, because I don't want it visible like on the screen. We would need like a closed state. So what we could do, and these can probably be collapsed into a single CSS style, by the way, or at least a set of smaller styles. So the top, the left, we actually want left to be -50%, width 50% is fine, height is fine, border radius is fine. I'm going to take the animation off and no border, and we'll just do this. We'll call that flyout panel closed. We'll put some overrides into effect here momentarily too. We'll make this a little bit nicer, CSS wise. Again, just working through some steps, baby steps. That's how I do my dev. Try a little, test it out, see if it works. Refactor if we need to. Ask an expert, phone a friend, get some advice on accessibility and whatnot of what we just did. I know some people that can help me with those things, so I don't have to be an expert in absolutely everything. But it is good to have a good social network of other developers that you can ask questions and have peers and mentors and things. And that is why I do meetup groups and go to conferences, and it is a good reason that I'm part of the MVP community. It's great to have lots of people that can support your ideas and help you work on things like this. And I know a lot of great people because of it. I think we did it. I mean, that works. I don't see any issues with this. I still want to question whether it should be in scope of the DOM or not, because I believe you could still essentially tab to that form, and I think I may be doing it right now, and I can't tell. So that form still exists on the page. So if I'm tabbing through, I don't know if I can see my tab locations in the inspection window here. But essentially I should be able to tab to those fields still. And I can't see where I'm tabbing to, so I don't know, but it is still here. So this is our window, and it is fully here. So if I am, let's go add record. Tab, 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 tab. Yeah, so my tab location changed when I click closed, but when it's closed, I still think I'm tabbing to it. I can see my cursor disappear for a bit. So let's do some random keyboard gyrations here. Click. Yeah. So I did this while it was closed. This is why I'm kind of iffy about whether it should be still into view or not. At least it needs to be disabled or something. Display none. Yeah, so we still need to toggle some bits. Still need to toggle some bits. Let's see here. You do that through close and display none, and on closed display. So this will remove it from our view of our, should remove it from the view of our, what do you call it, screen readers and tab locations. Is that correct, Ecomath? That's, yeah. So that might get it off of our, I don't want to put visibility none because that would break the animation. But I think display none shouldn't do that. Let's double check and see what happens. So we can bring it out. Oh, nope, it broke our animation. Display none breaks the animation. So that brings us back to, that brings us full circle to the initial problem, which is I need to perform something after the animation has happened. So I can't do this there. I would need to trigger that after the animation is done. At that point, I'm wondering if I should just remove it completely. So what I essentially want to do is find a place where I can like pseudocode this out. Is I want to have a method that I run. So if I click, close, I want to change the CSS from, and then I want to set the visibility to false. And then I want to change the CSS back. So I want to change it back to a default value. Because if I don't change it back, let me think. No, I should be able to just swap it once, I think. And then it'll be good. So if I can do that, and then I need to change it from one CSS value to another, set the visibility to false, and then do the opposite when I open it up. I want to turn it to visible, or change the CSS, then turn it to visible, and that would reanimate it again. Oh, yeah, I could set display none in a keyframe. That's a good idea, DevMan NL. So keyframes, I completely forgot about the keyframes part. So what we would essentially do, that's a great suggestion, by the way. In the keyframe, we would then add, so when we close it, we would display, oh, we need another keyframe, my bad. So this would be, these are percentages, so I think we could do it like this, say 90%, 100%. This actually might be 0. Yeah, 0, 100, display none, like that. Let's give that a shot. You are a little bit more awake than I am. DevMan ML. Let's give that a try. I don't think it's that simple, is it? Let's try Control F5. We'll rerun this guy. Could it be that simple and easy? I'm not rerunning. What? Oh, there's my console again. Something didn't get disposed because it's still running. I'm trying to rerun it. There's our console window. Get our application booted back up. Navigate back to that page. And oh, there it goes. There's a little delay. I thought we had an error. We can open it. We know that works. Close it. Oh. Okay, I don't quite know what happened there. Oh, I know what happened. I know exactly what happened. It turned to closed. And closed actually just needs to be display none. I think that's what happened. And since that was just a CSS change, then we can refresh and rerun. Oh, nope. Something is making it pop back up. What is making it pop back up? Do I have my keyframes wrong? Is there something wrong there? So, let's see. Yeah. Ah, good point. That was it. DevMan NL is all over it. And then let's see, we want to add some time to the animation to account for you should be able to drop the display none from the animation if you add it to closed. Yep, gotcha. Let's see if this did it. So that should pull in the CSS change. Oh. Yeah, so the timing is all off now. So I'm new to the keyframes thing. We need to make this just go. We want to have this be almost the last, up into the last frame. Remove display none from the 100%. remove 0. Well, if I do, okay, I'm going to trust you on this one. Been right so far. We take that off. Done plenty of CSS. I haven't done a lot of keyframe animation stuff. It wasn't widely adopted. And there it goes out. There it goes back. Look at that, DevMan ML. So you can add a class through I can add a class here, or how does that work, EcoMath? Without having to trigger something via code. Again, CSS animations, totally, keyframe animations especially. I've done transition came in, animation came later, adoption kind of slowly grew, so ignore me, it's working. I'm always trying to learn, so if there's something else I could learn from this, it would be beneficial. But wow, DevMan ML figured it out for me here. So we have 2 animations. We just triggered those 2 animations in and out. We still need to do our very scientific, very scientific UX test here. And I need to toggle this window. I'm going to toggle it back. I'm going to smash tab a few times. Do some random tabbing and typing. This is totally scientific. This is how UX people do their work. And it did not take it out of our tab order. Yeah, that happened. Not taking it out of our tab order, guys. Not sure why that is. We are back at square one. I can still tab to it and hack away at it. Does visibility need to go to none as well? Does it have to be both? Let's try it. That's easy to do now that we have this in place. Visibility none. Windergata is burying his head in the sand. All right. Empty cache, reload. See if we get our new CSS in here. Add a new record. Okay, it's clear. The form is empty. We will tab. We will type. We will tab. We will type. I can tell kind of that it's doing something because my tabs are not... Yeah, it's not good. I think it has to go away. Display none, visibility none. Doesn't seem. Okay. It's the start state of 0 to the end state of 100%. It's trying to calculate the in-between for the number properties. Not sure how that affects the fact that we can tab to it and type in it. Oops, I just clicked on Visual Studio Code and it's popping up over here. I need to close it. So I'm still coming to the conclusion that I think we're going to have to remove it. I don't need this. I need to remove it from existence to make it. Let's see. Hang on. CSS. Tab to off. Tab. Let's see, display, none, tab, index. See if there's something. Ah, here we go. Good old Stack Overflow. So it looks like somebody's actually suggesting that it needs to be opacity of 0. Opacity 0 will remove it from. This is why people dislike CSS. I usually defend CSS, but it's not so much CSS. Like, this isn't a CSS thing. It's a browser implementation thing, in my opinion. So opacity 0 apparently is the thing that your browser is going to key off of as whether you can view that form or not. At least that's what I'm gathering from that. I mean, I did a quick read. Tabbing through input fields. Somebody's saying they're having this problem with some input fields, and the solution they were given is to set the opacity to 0. Oh, and that broke something. So is that... It's entirely transparent. What did I do that broke my app here? I don't know why it's visible to begin with there. Oh, I took out... I know what I did wrong. I thought we didn't have the closed state in there anymore. I quickly just hacked it out of there. I was like, we don't need that anymore. We actually did use that still. Opacity 0. And then I did notice we can see it fading away, which I actually don't mind that. I kind of like that. So it flies in. When we click this, it flies out, but it also fades out, which is kind of cool. And then if we tab, I'm on Add New Record. And we can still tab to the dang thing. So that opacity did not work. It's because the final it has to be... So it's still here in the DOM. Flyout panel, close. And the animation contains the actual value. I wonder, well, let's look at computed, because the computed style is going to be... Where's the opacity in here? I don't see opacity. Display, flex. I thought we set display none. Let's see here. I don't see opacity in here at all. There's a highlight color. Background color. Yeah, this doesn't seem to be doing it. Am I setting tab index somewhere? It may be set, let's see, at the top level, no. Let's see here. As we get down into it, the form, the content is tab index 0, which I don't have any control over that. And then the form elements themselves have tab index. At least they should. They do not, which I thought they would. But the top level of it does, the content does have a tab index. Yeah, so that's the thing. So we just ended up coming full circle again. I need to, through code, set a timer. And when I set my timer, so I need to have some type of on-close event handler. When I click the close button, it needs to perform the animation, and there has to be a coded timer that triggers a refresh after the animation is done that pulls that element out of the DOM. So that would be the same thing as somebody said something about Angular. Yeah, DevMan. Same thing as that. Yeah, I don't have any control ecomath on that tab index because it is inside of a component that I don't have. I didn't write from scratch, so that doesn't have an open property that I can override. So it's still allowing us to tab to it for some reason. I think we just need to rip it out. So what we need to do is go back and add. See, we already have editor visible. If it's not there, it shouldn't be false. And I know these things get removed and added to the DOM without. I know what you're saying. Like the accessibility problem is currently what we have. If we remove it completely, it shouldn't be, at least from what I understand. And I'll ask around and get some second, third opinions. But I think it's pretty. I mean, we can manually maybe set it and test that out. But I think what we're going to end up doing is having to, let's see, tab index 0. See what this does. Actually, wait, no, -1. -1. Let's see if we can just, I didn't mean to hit IIS. It's just gonna, I don't want to run with debugging. So I set -1 at the top level just to see if it does any effect whatsoever on this. Let me close this window out. We're running, and there it is. I gotta get rid of this guy. And we're not running anywhere now. I wish I wouldn't have hit that play button. I was already running it in a console, and by hitting that button, I think I messed it up. There it goes. Recovered. The app will run, and we can test if we can tab to that form. I have a feeling we're still going to be able to. Should work. Let's hope so. We could always use a timer. We can always take it out. Timers actually work pretty straightforward in Blazor. Used them before to do a sliding window debouncer. The timer and callback. All you have to do is call StateHasChanged when the I don't have a property of tab index. So that happened. Let's take this out, and maybe our form. No, because it's on the content, so it's going to be up a level. I don't have a place to set that content or that tab index. Let's div tab index. This is really hacky in my opinion now, because I'm setting it up here. Tab index -1. And way down here, if we wrap it, this is just a quick sanity check. See if this is even possible. Save that. Control F5. And if that works, we could just toggle it. But now we have this weird div hanging out here for the sole purpose setting. Yeah, bleeding edge stuff. And thinking outside the box too. Like I want to put a UI experience in that doesn't really exist for this app and the tools I'm working with. So let that guy run. Now we have our app running. Grab our port page. Let's see if we can see it now. Oh, yeah, that did it. Because when I'm on my button, I hit tab, it pops back up here. Now I can tab through it now that it's in view. Close it. Tab, tab, tab. I'm here. I'm there. Oh, where'd it go? Still back. As soon as I bring it into view, it then lets me tab to it. And when I put it back out of view, even though that tab index is still -1, it still lets me tab to it. So that seems to be an issue. So it's still -1, but I can still tab to it all day long. It seems like once it's in view, it's permanently in view. And there's nothing I can do to make it go away. I'll take this out because it doesn't seem to help. It was worth a shot, though. It was a good suggestion. Didn't mind trying that at all. Learned something new there. -1 will initialize it out of tab sequence. Seems like once I'm in it, once I can tab to it, then it's permanently available for me to tab to it. And my concern is that if I was on this page, then if I opened that and closed it, then a screen reader would be reading that form all the time, even when it's not in view. And then I could potentially lose my tab focus and have it somewhere I can't get it back. It makes keyboard navigation tedious. Thanks for following Code Stencil. I think I can pop on my alerts again so those actually show up. We had such a follow session on from Jeff's raid. Thanks to all the new followers there. We had to kind of shut down the alerts for a few minutes because it was getting a little crazy. It was getting a little nuts. But raids are totally hot, right? Gotta have the raids and the hotness. All right. Need some sound effects for some of these memes. Oh, another one. Thank you. Thank you, Jacoby, for the follow. Let's see here. So we could try a timer. I wonder if we could just do a quick sleep on that too. Like, not thread.sleep. What's the other one? Task.delay. Would that work? Let's wire this up to a function. So on a click, I want to close. I want to have a close and an open function. I think our CSS is good for now. I think I'm going to stop hacking away at that. I think it's to where I like it. And it starts off closed, it gets opened and closed, and now we just need to remove it when we're not using it. We need some method handlers. All right, so I've got initialize, I've got some other stuff here. I'll put it here. So this will be protected because I'm using the code behind approach. And it will be a void method. We're not going to return anything from it. And we'll call this one close editor. And this is all because I'm stubborn and I don't want to use the built-in nice fancy pop-up window. I want a nice slide-out window with a custom form in it. And we want to do something with the CSS. So when we close the editor, yeah, no problem. I still think the best part was when the window went completely just flying across the page. I'm gonna close my eyes tonight, fall asleep, and see that happening again. I know it. It's a thing that dreams or nightmares are made of, is it not? So I want to set. Oops, I don't want the whole thing. What am I doing? I don't want all that. I want panel. This CSS equals, and then I want to set it to. Yeah. I think we can still do it afterwards. You can still make a replay of that afterwards. Panel CSS is going to equal the close state. So I want to make it close, not closed with a D, but close, current tense, closing. Yeah. Let's see. I have really great GIFs that I keep forgetting about, and I need to add some audio to them. Like, this is a great one. This has been pretty much every stream ever so far. So we need some audio on those guys. Jeff Fritz has got quite the setup with his sound effects and whatnot. Let's see. We've got our panel. We want to close it. Then we want to delay somehow. Let's see if we can do task dot delay. I don't know if this will do what I think I want it to do, because let me think. The whole thing will just end up getting delayed, won't it? Yeah. It's going to have to be a timer. I can't delay it this way, because that's not how Blazor works. It will run everything in this block. Then it will say state has changed, and then it will re-render. It doesn't do line 31, re-render, line 32, delay, line 33, re-render. It's going to do everything, then re-render. So we need to do this. Then we need to trigger a timer. Boy, this just got really complex. We need to do a timer, and then when the timer completes, the timer will then set the value to false and call state has changed. Not how I wanted this to turn out. We tried everything, I think, though. So we can at least implement this, and yeah, and we can implement this. Set timeout. There's no way to do it with task delay, right? Because that's just going to delay the method. It's just going to delay those lines of code. Trying to think, maybe. Yeah, I don't think that would do it. Wonder if we made this async. If we made it async, because you can make the an event handler asynchronous by default. It can be async, and then we could make it. This feels really hacky though. We could make it re-render twice through async. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. What the heck? Close editor, and then task dot delay. It's time in milliseconds. Is that 700 milliseconds? 0.7 seconds? Something like that. Then let's see here. We want to set the... My brain hurts, so I may be doing this wrong. Bear with me. Visible to false. Like that. And we're not awaiting anything, so we're not returning a task. Continue with. We still need to return a task to satisfy. Or is it async? We still need to. We're not doing anything asynchronous in here. So it's gonna run synchronously anyway. Await task.delay. I think this might fudge it into re-rendering. I'm not sure. And be continue with. Okay, so this, let's try this. Let's see. I don't know if this will work. I'm just kind of spitballing. Let's see if this does anything at all. Our close, instead of just closing now, we will then call our close editor method on click, and we will cross our fingers. I still don't know if this is going to hook into the lifecycle properly. It may just delay the closing of the editor completely and then not animate it. That is my assumption. So what I think will happen when we click close, oh, my apologies if you dropped in late. So yeah, so I usually do that, and I've gotten off track, kind of trying to think through this problem, and sorry if I neglected to say what we're up to. So we are working in Blazor. We have an application we've been building on the show for a few weeks. It has some ML.NET, and we have some forms and things that trigger a call to Azure, or sorry, .NET machine learning, and calculates an estimated trip cost for what we're going to be doing. We're going to build an app that does a space travel cost estimation for booking flights on a spaceship. It's completely fictional, but we're using some real data to do things. So we've got ML.NET hooked into a Blazor application. We've got some admin pages that drive some of our index page forms. So these are all values that populate our forms. And I'm trying to make the admin experience kind of slick and throwing in some UI behaviors in here. So I want this form to appear off page, slide in with a nice panel. And then when I close it, so that actually might have worked, guys. We'll check that in a moment. But what we want is that panel to slide away like that, and then we can just continue on working. The issue so far has been that when we slide the panel off the page, it still remains in the DOM. It's still something we can tab to. It's still there, guys. It's still there. Our visible never got triggered to false for some reason. I don't know how that happened, but we'll find out. So yeah, So that's what we're working on right now. Is we're using Blazor to figure out if we can make this panel go off screen. We've done some CSS work to get it there so far, but now it's getting to the point. I see what the issue is. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Visible is always true. Visible is hard-coded, so we need to get rid of the hard-coded visible. And this needs to be editor visible. And now we also need to set that to true when the panel opens. So we need to duplicate that. So this is what we're up to, though. So thanks for asking me about that cool stencil. I'm glad you chimed in and made me aware that I didn't keep everybody up to date. So thank you for that. We need an open editor here too. So when we open the editor, we want to apply this, set this to true, and then we can go back and change this delegate out and make this open editor. So now we can open it and close it and toggle the visible as well as the CSS class. Let's give that a try. It is those pesky tab indexes. It is many things, I think. It would probably also behave differently in different browsers, which is quite possible. So this is web development at its most basic form, really. These are not issues that are specific to Blazor, Angular, React, jQuery, Vue, all of the above. The common denominator is the web as a platform is quirky. It's evolved over time, and it evolved from a place where we're doing things that were never intended to be done on the web, right? The initial technology, this isn't a how it was intended to be used. That task delay worked, guys. That actually did the trick. I think I have one in there I don't need. So this works. I don't need to delay it opening. That was just a goof on my part. But yeah, I think that worked. So we want to delay it on close because we want the animation to play out before we remove it from the DOM. When we open it, as soon as we toggle this, we want the animation to start playing out. And that animation won't even start until this turns true anyhow. So the task delay in the open editor does nothing but delay our button. Did that make sense? I can re-explain it. That kind of just came off the top of my head, the way I said it. That might not have been the most intelligent way to explain it. But, yeah. So, I'll reiterate in a moment here. I'm just basking in the glory of our group success here. We did an amazing job. Click Add New, and that opens. So what triggers the animation on open is the actual toggling of editor visible to true, because when it gets added to the DOM, then the CSS value itself is then evaluated, causing the animation to trigger. When we this doesn't need to be a task, by the way, so it doesn't have an await in it. When we do the close editor, if we were to set it to false, there is no DOM element to animate. So we need to change the CSS value. Changing that value triggers the animation. Then we wait for the animation to stop. Then we remove it from the DOM. And the reason we use the task, asynchronous task in here is the way async works in Blazor is this will trigger and it will run. And when the task is finished, then it will re-render. So you get an initial render, you await, and then you re-render. At least that's the way I believe this is working. Correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody has any other ideas. Don't ever pretend to be the smartest guy in the room. I commonly make mistakes, but failing and recovering is how you get better. But I think we did it. Close these out. And let's see, I took that await out. I'm going to see this working one more time here. And we'll try to tab as well, make sure our tabs aren't broken. And then to Ecomath's point, I will go find some folks that I know and ask them about best practices in adding and removing items from the DOM. I still think it's pretty common practice in the browser companies, Google, Microsoft, Apple, and those, Firefox, the people that implement the browser behaviors themselves would recognize that this is something that developers are doing and have the accessibility features in place for that to work. It's a pretty big assumption on my part, so I definitely will ask some experts and find out. But we can see the DOM element removing, and we have our full animation. So look at that slick UI we just got. It took a little bit of ingenuity to get there, but for all intents and purposes, we've been streaming for 2 hours, and in that 2 hours, we've taken a form. Gotta go. Thanks for joining us, Ecomath. All of your input and suggestions have been well appreciated today, and the chat room is fantastic. I'm glad you could join us. Can you delete the task delay? Do you want to see what happens if I delete the task delay? Let's check it out. So, ConLab, this is the issue we had before. This will run completely synchronous now. And what will happen is these things will all run. Yeah, it would need to be, it should be void, but we're going to put it back. So it should be okay to leave it as an async task and just take it out. It'll just run it synchronously as it would have if it was void. Lisa Sidlow, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the show. Unable to connect to web server. Okay, maybe it doesn't like that. Let's try void in here. This was the initial problem. Is this is going to cause our element to go away before the animation plays. So we can look at that. We can check that out. Let's kill that process. And it should spin up a new one on its own. At least I hope it does. There it goes. Sometimes it takes a minute to recover after it's failed to spin up a new instance. But removing that task await will cause our panel to go away. If I add new record, the animation plays fine opening. But here's the problem now. When I click close, I'm going to toggle the CSS, which will make the animation go away. But at the same time, it will also make the element pull it out of the DOM. So if I click this, poof, no animation. So we need to delay on that as to wait for the animation to play out. Correct. 9Nick6. Yep. The editor visible removes the element before the animation even gets a chance to do its thing. So in Blazor, when we have an asynchronous task, whether it is in the case of, do I have an init? Yeah, on a init async or an event handler, what happens is when I enter the task, it then will perform what it can re-render when the task completes. When the task, all of the tasks have been completed, it will then re-render again. So what happens here is when I run this close editor, I'm triggering the animation, then I'm awaiting, and then after I await, it re-renders again with the visible set to false, which gives us what we need. So I didn't have to set up a timer and all that nasty stuff. Just a task delay did what it needed to do. So boom, opens up, close, and now with my fix in here, let's rerun it, and you can see the animation will play out. So really good stuff. But kind of recapping, within 2 hours, we took a form, we added a window to it, and put some pretty heavy customizations on it with making not only CSS animations, but looking at how we wanted it to display. Like we styled like a box shadow. We made it like full screen height and half screen width, all that stuff. We did that in under 2 hours. Pretty impressive. Add new record, poof, flies out, close, poof, goes back, and then it is gone from the DOM, which means we can't tab to it anymore, which is nice. So we don't want people entering data in a form that's off screen. So we've got all this functionality that is being added to our app with essentially, how many lines of code did we add, guys and girls? Ladies and gentlemen, we've got 2 small methods that we added, and we've got like a dozen lines of CSS code that can probably be refactored down. So maybe more than a dozen. Okay, so like 30 lines of CSS code. Still not that much to add all those components to our app, and that's because the components we're using, if you're just joining us, these are the Telerik UI for Blazor components that are all written from scratch using .NET technology to make a robust toolkit of components that we can do these things with. I use these components all the time, not the Blazor ones, but the Telerik ones, in web forms and MVC, and now I work for Telerik, and it's fun to actually be able to use a brand new product in this way with Blazor. So let's do some refactoring here real quick. I think we can make these CSS things, these selectors a little bit more, we can refactor them out and make them a little bit easier on us. So we've got a little bit of repetition in here. These values seem to repeat quite a bit. I think in order just to make the animations work, we don't need all this. So we have our flyout panel, and if we have flyout panel close, what we could actually do is maybe we can, let's see, instead of saying flyout panel close like this, we could say flyout panel dot flyout panel closed like so, and then we can take out the top. The left changes, the height is the same, the border radius is the same, the animation is different. Oh, I don't want closed, I want close. We can take that all out like that. All right, and then thanks for following times 2DD. So I think we can trim that down a little bit. Maybe not as much as I had thought. So we've got keyframe animations. Those are going to stay there. The animation changes when we close it. And then we have our flyout panel. I don't think we need this anymore. I know I said this before, but let's actually remove it this time, because now it gets taken out of the DOM. And when we take it out of the DOM, that solves our problem of having this. This was to try to alleviate needing to remove it from the DOM, but we never were able to quite do that. So we will give it no style, because when it is not in the DOM, we're not going to need to worry about the style of it. When we close it, this has styles that make it not visible to us at all anyway, because it's closing. Let's give that, oops, I know where it's going to fail. We need to fix up the CSS classes here. We can actually remove this as well, because this is Sass. But what we need to do is, now there's going to be another CSS class here, and flyout panel. Wait for this to load. I didn't mean to run it, so there we go. Boom, just kill it. This will be flyout panel and flyout panel close together, so like that. Actually, we'll do -- close to identify this is what we're doing here, so that's a little more explicit. Oh. I've got a curly brace out of order here somewhere. I need another one here. Good old Sass. I like the way Sass works. This should do the trick here. Try one more run. Kind of pare down that CSS a little bit. Oh, I might have messed up something here. Width 50%. Did I grab the wrong value? So the top was the same. The width and height were the same. The animations take care of the left side of this. So I can probably, what's nice is now that I have my app running, I can edit CSS and I don't have to rerun the app. So if we add a new record, flies in. Oh, I broke something. So yeah, that didn't work. Make sure my code is right here. Yeah, I got the two CSS values, which I thought would work. Let's inspect the page real quick and see. Actually, that's going to be minified. Let's close this down. I broke it. After all that, I broke it. Let's see what gets rendered from our. Make sure my Sass is right. I have refactored that wrong. So this should be near the end of the file because of where I'm editing it. Gotcha. That would simplify it. I think I broke something else though. Hang on, let's go back. Let's make sure I did this right to begin with. All right, this is what we had before. So I've got the repeated things in here. I don't need the top to be specified twice. The width is always the same. The height is always the same. Border radius is always the same. The left-hand side and the animation are what change. And then we can move this up. to like this. We could try that. That should, let's see what we get out of that. Let's see what the rendered CSS looks like there. Nope, I didn't close it off again. What do you know? There we go. That's not quite it. Because we're not going to inherit the items before it when we do that. We're only going to get those. We want to put we still want the flyout panel there. I don't know if we can do that, but that would also do what I was trying to do. Let's see what if it re-renders at all. Yeah, there we go. That's what I want. Because this will bring in all of the values, cascade them in, and then override those two values. So our final CSS value in our component should be both of them. Just copying and pasting to make sure I have them written correctly, make sure I don't have any typos in there. That is what I think I need. We shall see. All right. I could have put just double dash close like that, but having close on its own is a little generic. Let's see if this works at all. It should. So we'll hit add new record, close. Nope, it did it again. So let's make sure I didn't. Is it my CSS that I broke, or did I do something completely different? Let's see here. Okay, put that back to normal. Let our CSS get fixed. Is my app closed? Did I close it already? All right. So let's see if it's a CSS issue or if I messed my build up somehow. Oh, something else went wrong. It's not a CSS issue. I just fixed the CSS. Oh, actually, it still is because I changed that back. Interesting. So I think it's maybe the animation name has, because of the animation, it has to be completely a different class. We can't just append to panel and put close. Maybe we have to be completely swapping out the class name for it to re-trigger the animation. Give it a second. It should rerun the application on its own. So that might have to stay the way it is. It's not terrible. I was just trying to cut a few lines of repetitive stuff out. Might be able to just move those into a base class, maybe. Whoa. What was that all about? How did I manage to break this, guys? And I didn't do a proper git check in there either. Oh, I see what it is. Closed. I don't know how that's even working in a state like that. How did that happen? All right. That was weird. Interesting. Yeah, it still managed to like do some of the animation. That's weird. It must have been cached or something. Must have been cached. That's all I can think of. Is it got CSS values from cache and still managed to run it. I don't know. That's not making a whole lot of sense. Whoops. Trying to run too many of these apps. It's throwing some errors. And let's see what we can do here. Come on. Control F5. Here we go. Get our app back. We'll get in a working state. We'll actually, what we'll do is just, we'll sweep this guy under the rug. We'll move the CSS to, it's not going to be the best, trimmest CSS ever, because I don't know what exactly I'm doing wrong here, but new, close, animations are working again. So trying to refactor those out that way didn't make it happy. It seems like it wants a whole class name. When I append this to try to overload or override this value, it doesn't seem to trigger the animation again. So I'm just going to leave this as is. I removed that. We don't need that anymore. Flyout panel close. It's only a few lines of CSS. We will take this. Like I said, I'm working on, and sorry, I'll back up. I said like I said, but what I actually mean is I said earlier in the show, the way I have my CSS or Sass pipeline set up, I have this folder. There is an all CSS. All CSS imports the Bootstrap Sass. It imports the a components folder. It imports the Telerik UI CSS files. In my components folder, I have an all CSS as well that has the components in it. And it looks like I've got another temp going on in here. I usually like to work inside of the all CSS at the root level, because when I compile this, if I need to look and see what's going on, I know I can find, if I'll hit Control End, I can find the compiled Sass or CSS code at the bottom. There are quite a few lines, 23,000 lines of code in there. I don't want to have to search through. So, gosh, CSS is verbose. I've got a lot of stuff loaded in here too that I could trim out later. But what I want to do is I want to take this flyout panel and remove it from all CSS. Then in my components.all, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to add a new add new item. Yeah, it's a lot of Sass code, a lot of CSS there. Stoosh, I think that's how we say that, maybe. Oops, SCSS. So new Sass file, SCSS file. We're going to drop that into our components folder. We'll put our flyout panel code in here. We got to name this file. So we want it to be flyout panel. So we'll put our flyout panel code here. Then we will just import it here. And with Sass, you don't need to specify the extension. I don't remember why I added that. I'll leave it there. It says temp. Might have to go back and remember why I did that. I also have a validation bit here I'm going to leave for now until I maybe do some more validation work. But I'm going to move that that CSS file up there. If we look at the site CSS, it is gigantic. This is because it has all of Bootstrap. I think most, at least not, maybe not all, but at least most of Bootstrap. It has all of the Telerik styles as well, which could be greatly pared down because we don't have all of the Telerik components being used. But that's the nice thing about Sass is later on I can come in to, say, Bootstrap, for example, and I can just comment out a bunch of this stuff, and it will remove some of those lines of code. So that's more of a cleanup process after I'm done. I've already taken some stuff out here. So like I don't have progress bars and stuff like that. I could take those out. I don't have breadcrumbs. I think I do have cards. Some of this stuff I could remove. And I can do the same thing with the Telerik UI stuff, but I just haven't gotten down the road of doing the Telerik UI stuff yet. I just dropped the library in a couple shows ago, and I did the SAS file in a very not best practices way. I just dropped all the CSS in and renamed the file to .cs.sas. I will later on grab the dependency the correct way and create a manifest file for it and remove the items I'm not using. But I wanted to get it working before I went and hacked away at it like that. So it'll be a refactoring point again, is to trim that down so we don't have to serve all those SAS files or CSS files up. There is a fruit fly. It is summer, and they like to try to fly in my face while I'm streaming. We've tried so hard to get rid of them. Anytime you bring any kind of produce in the house, they seem to follow. So, yay, summer. All right. Anyway, we have our form now, and we have proper animations. This is really cool. So, oh, another raid. Wow. So this is my, this must be my day of being repaid for raiding every week. This is the third raid today. So thank you very much, Relevant Jess. Or is it Jess or Jesse? Jesse. Thanks for the raid. I appreciate that. I think you guys were hacking on some win forms or something like that. So appreciate the raid. We're doing Blazor, by the way. I am doing well today. Thank you very much. Hope you are too. Getting ready for your weekend. We're doing some Blazor, and what we've got here is a pretty cool UI setup. So I'll give you a quick rundown of how this worked out. This has been a really cool show so far, for me anyway. Hope it has been for you too. So I installed on last show Telerik UI for Blazor, and with Telerik UI for Blazor, we've got some really great components here. I added the grid last week, and we had an editor on our page. So previously, where's my format? We had this form, this big form here. You can see it takes up, about half the height of the page, just plastered up above the grid. So you had to scroll all the way down to get to the grid itself. And yeah, that's why I figured you were doing win forms. We saw you doing some win forms last week and gave you a raid because we were talking about Blazor. So it's cool to come full circle on that. So we had the grid. We had to scroll all the way down to find it. The grid has this pop-up editor in it. So it's built in. It's nice. It's especially nice if you have a database that is very flat and has the same fields as your form does. And we have a view model in ours. So if we look at ours, we're doing something like simple, like just truncating the description to make it shorter. In our form, we have a drop-down box that needs to be populated from another table in the database. And at a certain point, when you use the built-in editor, you start customizing it so much that you might as well just roll your own form. And we already had the form. So it was just a matter of, well, we should just wrap the form in our own dialog box. So that's what we did. So if we look, that same pop-up component that we see here, this edit component, is available as a standalone component. So it's called window. And the window has buttons that we can use to click on it. We can set the width, the size, position, and all those things. We could have done that. That would have been simple. I'm not a simple person. I was like, this is really cool, but what if we took the window concept and made a flyout panel from the side instead? So we started tinkering with some CSS code and ended up with this nice little bit of UI here. So we added a drop shadow, set up some CSS values to make it a panel, and then added some open and close buttons to make it appear with an animation. And it was very, very little code. It was just the problem-solving bit was a little bit tricky because of the internet, or not the internet, but the web and the way the browser works and stuff. So we click Add Record. It triggers a CSS value to change, which kicks our animation off. Then we can edit some content if we like. We can close this panel by clicking that box. That then triggers another animation through CSS. Once the box is off screen, it then removes it from the DOM so we can't accidentally stumble onto that form again. I think what our next step is going to be is we have this effect. We can edit the form. If we hit save, we have validation. So nothing happened there. Once we save this, though, we need to, first of all, make sure this still works. Then we need to identify like that the update has occurred and close this panel out like that and maybe display something above the grid that says that an update has occurred. So we need kind of a feedback loop going to say, all right, we've added a record, we've saved it, now tell the user, okay, the form is gone, and repopulate the grid and show the update. Or little UI thought experiment here. Are we adding multiple records? Do we want to close the panel on save? Or do we want to display a success message in the panel, clear the form, and allow another edit to take place? Clicking save and closing automatically, is that too jarring of an experience? So that's a UX question we need to kind of figure out. Do we set it up for multiple edits? Is this like a data entry screen that we're doing a lot of this, or is it kind of ad hoc where every once in a while we add a single record and we want to just get this out of the way as fast as possible? So that is a question to be asked. We also don't have any way to edit this. So we'd like to maybe add an edit button in here that will also trigger this, which we would then change the name up here, the title. We would change the buttons to update instead of save. And then how does that affect the experience? Do we close it automatically? Do we allow multiple updates? How does that work? Generally, if you're going to edit something, I would imagine you edit it once, hit save, it goes away. If you need to edit again, you might need to reopen that window. So let's think. Maybe we should try the closing it method. Save it. Maybe we produce a success message here, and then you click to close it. That might be a good way to do it. Let's think, how could we do that though? All right. So first things first, let's just double check, make sure the form works. I'm going to add some data in here. So a couple shows ago, since we have some new viewers, I'll explain some of the things that we've done over the course of this. I can go in here and I can edit this data and add records, delete records safely, because I know that if I go back into my app, I can either delete the database or I can change the connection string in startup.cs. I believe that's where it is. Yeah. In startup.cs, I can just change the name of the database. And we've written in entity framework migrations that automatically trigger So I'll post those shows. They're still on Twitch if you want to go back and watch and see how we did that. But I will post those shows on YouTube as well. But what it'll do is when I run the application for the very first time, or if I have no database, it will hit this line of code that says database migrate. Then the application will run these code files here, these C# classes that will migrate my database for me. So I can go in and I can edit data all day long. I can blow this all up, make this nice and ugly and full of garbage data, then just delete the database, rerun the app, and it's all back to normal. The initial reason I did that is so folks could go out to GitHub, grab the repo, and run it, and not have to do like SQL queries or anything crazy like that. So they can just hit run, and it should set up a database for them. So let's just test this out. We never tested to see if the form still works inside of this window. I don't know why I'm using an area for country. This should just be a text box. Got a whole area to type every bit of information I can imagine. So the country, we'll say United States. I don't have an image URL. I haven't done those yet. This is going to be Earth, and we will save this. I didn't see a refresh on this side. Let's close this out of our way. Like I said, this is going to be an issue. Test is in there. So it did refresh on its own, but there was no UI update as far as just displaying the record. Nothing triggered to say, hey, this is a new record in here. You added this. So we need to identify that something has happened, because that's not a good UX. We can edit this, we can hit save, and then we're scratching our heads wondering what happened. I think we should possibly put something on this form here. Maybe around the save button, a little green box comes up and has a success message. We close that. I wonder if we could highlight somehow the item that we added to the database, or to the table. Let's see. What are some of the things we have at our disposal? We have a very simple grid so far. We could put a template column in. We could put template rows in. That would make this a little bit more verbose and harder to maintain over time. But it would allow us to highlight a new record if we wanted to. We could just display a message over the top of the table instead. It just says it's in there. That would be good. So we need to do something anyway. I think maybe we click save on success, close, show a panel. Let's see what we got. All right. Let's go to Bootstrap real quick. Actually, before I go on a new endeavor, my brain is finally waking up for the day. Let's go over to our Git panel in Visual Studio, and let's do a commit before I end up breaking something I cannot fix, because that's never happened to me ever. Not true. Break stuff all the time. You guys know that. So in this commit, we added a flyout panel UX to the port details admin page. And spelling errors all over the place. There we go. That should do it. So let's see, what did I change in my form? Let me just double check some of these commits here real quick. There's still some of the refactoring changes in there too I haven't committed. Yikes. So I got a little ahead of myself on Git, my Git commits. So there's going to be quite a few things in here actually. Support refactored the form and view model. So I just cleaned up some code the other day. Oh, okay, McNerdies, thank you. I mentioned it like way earlier in the show, but we've had several raids today. So I tried to kind of recap where we are and stuff, but I forgot to mention the article. So thanks for bringing that up. So McNerdies is talking about an article that I wrote on using code behind pages in Blazor, and saved you some frustration with the dependency injection stuff. So awesome, thank you. I'm glad you found it useful. I figured I was going through the process on my app, and I just refactored this one. So you can see I'm using a code behind here because this is my markup. And at the very top, you'll notice this sneaky little inherits from admin port base. If you click on this, it opens the code behind file, and this is all my code. So if you want to see the process of how I worked this out, then check out that link that Ms. McNerdius shared in the chat room. Appreciate that. So let's see. I did my git commit. I've been refactoring. And let me pull my Solution Explorer back up and get to my admin page again. There we go, admin. Do a little tab bankruptcy there, get all my stuff out that I don't want shown on the screen. Close that guy back up. My Git is up to date, I think. I did hit commit, right? I did hit commit. I shouldn't have any changes anymore. Yeah, everything is good. I'm still refactoring the admin section, so I'm going to stay on this branch. So I'm going to stay on here, and I'm going to work on this window. And for this window, I want to go to, we are using the Teller stuff, but we're going to go for some basic HTML stuff. By basic, I just mean Bootstrap. And just pull up the panel. I don't remember off the top of my head what the alert panel is. So we'll go to the examples and take a look. This is kind of what I want right here. So alert success is what I want. So when there is a successful, when something happens that's successful, we want to display this. And then we will set a message here. And we will notify the user that a new record was added to the page. So let's see, let's take a look here. We will say the record, or the, let's see, these are ports we're adding. So this will be the port. We'll give it a name. I'm just going to kind of write that in there. This will end up being a variable name. The port name has been added successfully. So we'll do that. this will be our alert that we show when there's a successful thing that happens. We need to be able to toggle that display. When we edit something, we have our form. We're going to save. When we save, here's our edit form. And when we save, we trigger the valid submit. So valid submit triggers save location. So when we click save location, we are going to add our record to the database, await save changes, then reload the grid, repopulate our form or blank out our form, and then we need to display our message. So let's see, we actually need our information here too. We got to get that before we get too far down the road of saving it. So the first thing, we need to be able to toggle this guy here. And let's do an if statement here. If true, we'll take our alert box and bump that up this way. Now, we have our alert box up. We need to set a form value that we can toggle. So scroll back down here. Actually, let's pull this up. This may take a second. I've got a little bit of a Visual Studio bug, I think, where I cannot pin tabs. So I have to, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Maximize it, then pin it. Now I can look at my code behind and my code at the same time. This is actually one of the benefits I pointed out in the article I wrote, ironically. I want to be able to toggle a field. I need to add that field here. So we have editor visible, yada, yada, yada. I'll add this down here. Protected. Success message is visible. This needs to be a string or a Boolean value. We will then get set that value. So now we can assign. There we go. All right. That seems a little wordy. Maybe it should be like is submit. Yeah, that's not really saving a whole lot. Success message visible is fine. I'll run with that. So when it's visible, we'll display this message. We need to set the name up here. We need to stash the name somehow, because what's going to happen is when we save, we're going to clear the form back out. So what we don't want to do is try to reference the form here, because we don't want to say like at form. Wait, what's the form's name? Port form. At port form. If we did this, port form name. If we try to display it this way, we have a form on the page. If we try to reference the name of the field there, the value in the field, when we successfully save, we're going to clear the form. So that would actually just clear this name back out. And then as soon as somebody types something new in the form, it would display here. That would be bad. So we need to stash that in a like little cache type of thing here. Let's say protected, saved You know what? We'll do something clever, I think. Let's do last successful save. And this will actually be a port details object. So last successful object, we'll just store that right there. And then I wonder, instead of having an entire property here that we're going to manually get and set, I wonder if we just return that the last successful save is not null. So if it's not null, then we have saved object there, and we can display the message, and then we can just display the name. If we decide we're going to do something else with that data later, we can also do that. Maybe we can have a way to click on it and get the details or something like that. We could actually pop a link in here and be able to view it. That might work too. Just kind of thinking off the top of my head how we might be able to do this. So we need to populate that now. So back in our code behind, we'll scoot this over a little. You can see a little bit more fully. When we save our location, we take our port details and we add it to the database. So we add our port details. We await save changes async. We await the loading of the view and then repopulate the form. We need to assign this. We need to actually check for some type of success too. We don't have any like try catch on this at all or anything yet. We can always add that in a little bit. I know that probably sounds bad. We're not going to check if it was successful or not before just throwing this message up, but we'll get to that. I promise. Famous last words. We need to stash this in our cache. So I'm trying to think how I want to do this. I'm fine with this the way it is. We need to put this in something though. Let's just call it item, I guess, for now. Item equals port details. Boom. So we need to move that out and then say item here. So we're going to put this in a variable and hold it. We will then add it to our collection and save it. There should essentially be a try catch around there somewhere, and if it is successful, we want to say the last successful, oops, not success is invisible. Last successful save is equal to the item that we saved, like that. That should set us up with a feedback loop. There should be a try catch around here. There is a potential that the save changes might fail, even though it validated. At this point, it has passed through validation. So if we look back at our form again, I kind of pointed this out earlier, but we have some folks that came over from a raid doing web forms. On valid submit triggers save location. So we know it's passed validation before it hits this point. This is a server-side Blazor application, so there's no need to revalidate the data after it comes across. It's not coming across the wire. It's all happening locally. If this were a disconnected app, a client-side Blazor application, you would likely want to revalidate your data before saving it, because you can't trust anything that comes from the client ever. JavaScript, C#, doesn't matter what the client was. Probably shouldn't trust it before you stash it in your database. So we don't need to revalidate it or anything, but there is a potential that something could go wrong. Maybe the database goes offline, something like that. But we would want to catch an error and then display the error instead of the success message here. But we don't have, we're not going to set all that up today. So we'll just pretend that everything is 100% all of the time, and we're going to save that successfully every time. And then once we get this done, we'll manually call that close function and see if we can force that window closed after this is done, which should be as easy as calling await close editor. Let's see, I hit Control F5, but I think I might have left a window lingering open. So close that. It should reload on its own. Thank you all for joining from various raids today. Really appreciate all the great chat and viewers that we've had. It's really been a great show. And it's because you guys came and offered opinions and problem solved with me. DevMan ML's been coming to my rescue all morning. Thank you very much. I know EcoMath isn't here anymore, but he's offered some really good advice and opinions today as well. So it's been really a good turnout today. So we should be able to add a new record again. Boom, this is going to slide out. Test 2, we'll call it. This is a second test. Country can be null, actually. Let's see if it blows up validation. We'll find out in a moment. We're going to save. It does say required, which it shouldn't be required. I'm going to have to take that one off of there. Shouldn't be required. Shouldn't be required because if we're selecting a location that doesn't have countries like Earth and Mars, then we shouldn't be requiring it. So save. I see my message popped up. The port test 2 has been added successfully. So at least now we have a nice notification that something has happened. So that is good. So now we just need to close that form. So I'm going to do it before we clear it. And I will say await. And we'll say close editor. So that is all we need. And I can rerun the app again. And this is what I like about Blazor, is it's easy. Unless you're hacking away at some CSS stuff like we were doing earlier, it's easy. That wasn't Blazor's fault. That was the web's fault. The web is a big pile of hacked up technologies anyway. So when you start doing stuff like removing things from the DOM and changing CSS around on the fly, stuff breaks. It's a happy break, though. It's like happy trees, like Bob Ross. Happy little errors. Happy little bugs. So I lost one of my CSS styles. I didn't notice that till now. So that flies out. We'll do test 3. Something. Blah. And we'll drop this down and select the location, hit save. And oh, that was kind of jarring. I guess. That's interesting. Okay, so my animation didn't play. Why though? So this is an await, and it closed it abruptly, but it didn't seem to have the same behavior it did when we triggered it from our button click. It seemed to be very like, it seems like it didn't play out the same way. I'm wondering, let's see here. I'm going to try this. Instead of, I think it might have to do with this await task delay, because it's happening inside of another asynchronous task, maybe? It doesn't fire in the right order? That's odd. We'll see what happens here. But that panel just straight up disappeared. I'll try it one more time just to make sure. So we'll just jam some garbage data in there, hit save, and it just straight up disappears again. Let's try putting our delay in there. I hate having to do that, but it was the only way to make that work. Before I control F5, I need to remember to close these things out. Control F5. Let's see if it fires normally, if the await is in line with the others and not called through another method. So I think what happens is the way Blazor renders, it will call this asynchronously, do everything, and then re-render. The problem is when it does that, this still might not fix it. The delay is already passed, and it just re-renders, and the animation doesn't get a chance to fire before the element is ripped out of the DOM. I don't care what the test number is. We're just going to put some gibberish. Save. Ooh, yeah, that doesn't work either. So, interesting. We can't have that smooth animated close behavior from inside of another button. It just doesn't work that way. And I don't know if we can get it to work the way we want it to. So it's probably going to have to call out to another process. Like, I still might have to fall back and use a timer, because a timer would be out of process and it would trigger after all of this stuff has been done. The DOM would re-render. The yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, DevML or DevMan. Yeah, I don't know if that process took longer, or I mean, I could try bumping that delay up, but it seems like the delay is happening to me. My opinion, what's happening is the delay hits before the delay hits before the flyout panel close animation is triggered. So I think all of these processes happen. So what I think it does, let me try to explain this again. I think it does all of this. It saves the changes to the database. It awaits the reloading of the view model and all these things, and then does one DOM update. So it kicks off the initial tasks in here, but it then, when it reconciles everything, that task delay has already happened before the state has changed, triggers this editor visible false. So that brings us back to the initial problem we were having, where the editor just flat out closes without you ever seeing the animation. So I think that's what happens. The initial rendering takes place when you click the save button. It awaits everything. The delay happens. The state or the enable or the editor is false and all of that. And then it says state has changed, but the delay is already gone and passed. So all it sees is that value turned to false. The CSS value changes. The animation doesn't have time to play, and it's gone. Hopefully that made sense. This is one of the little tricks with Blazor is the way StateHasChanged works. So I think that is our issue. All of these awaits have taken place already, all of them, and you know it's done saved the database and it's awaited the 7 seconds, and then poof, the re-render takes place and everything goes away. It's still not the end of the world. I mean, it does display the message. I do see a little CSS bug I need to fix, though. I took those rounded corners off because I didn't really like them because it was supposed to be a panel. Somehow they came back. Little regression of some kind here. Let's check out our flyout panel code. Border radius 0. Now, how does that happen? Border radius 0. If I look back here, I have a border radius. What's putting the border radius back on? How did I have no border radius? Okay, window is overriding it somehow. That's odd. Where is flyout panel? Border radius getting overridden. I could have swore that that border radius worked. And I really don't like to throw importance on these things. So what I need to do in here is say, let's take this out, because that does not work. But underneath of it, if we have the flyout panel and we have a K window, then we can, whoops, wrong thing on my clipboard. So what I'm specifying here is that, so K window is what actually defines, the K stands for Kendo UI, which is the HTML and CSS that the Telerik UI components are based on. So K window specifies the border radius. This is what gives you the window look and feel out of the box. I don't want it. I don't want to override every instance, though, of K window with no border radius, because what if I do want to pop up with that default behavior? I don't want to affect those. So I'm making the specificity of the CSS say that only when it's paired with the flyout panel do we override it. And that should fix that. And I can come back to my browser. I don't have to reload for this. I just need to refresh because this is a CSS change and it didn't work. Why didn't it work? Did I hit the wrong selector on that? Let's double check. So K window. K window. Oh, I bet I might know what it is. This actually could be a different problem. So it was working before. Remember I refactored and I put these into a component. I know what it is. I know what it is. Let's take this out because this isn't ever going to work. I'll show you why. Sorry, I got off track. We were working on another feature and ended up fixing a bug. So what is happening with that rounded corners? And I'm being a real nitpicker for looking at those rounded corners and seeing them. It has to do with the order in which I specified my CSS files. So if my components are going to override any of these Telleric style sheets, I need to do that. They need to appear afterwards, or it's not going to work. So let me change that around, and now that border radius will appear after and override that, not vice versa. Again, I don't have to render or refresh anything but the application for that because it was a CSS change, and it's still not right. Why? Let's try to empty cache. I'm going to get hung up on border radius now. Come on. Flyout panel, border radius. Oh, I took the border radius out. Jeez. I am having one of those afternoons. All right. So it's probably, let's undo some of these changes here. I did a little haphazardly. Border radius. There. Now I've got it. Now I know I've got it. Hopefully that had time to, yeah, it did. So nice straight edge again. Yep, that little 2 pixels right there is what was driving me crazy. A little maybe OCD about stuff, but there's my designer instincts kicking in. We'll do some design work on this pretty soon. We'll have some fun there. So not too happy with the way this works right now. You close it. It kind of has a laggy feel because of that delay, and then StateHasChanged triggers at the wrong point in time. And that happens. But at least we have a notification here, and the panel closes itself. So there's two things we could do. We can display the success message in here and have the user close the panel manually, which resolves our animation problem. Or we fix the animation problem and continue to close the box automatically. I think I'm actually going to opt to display this message inside of the panel and then ask the user to close it. Let's see here. Save. If success message visible, we will have them say, or let's see that. We can add another button in here that will also close. These are just hashing out ideas. Like, this doesn't necessarily mean it will stay permanently this way. Close editor. So we could try it like that. Oh, that's not good. Something in Visual Studio blew up. So there was an error message that flew across Visual Studio. So I can make the delay larger because it's only to remove the window out of the DOM. I don't think that's actually going to work. We can try that if, oh shoot. I kind of did this wrong. I forgot to take out on save. I'm still calling close. Before I take close out, we can try. I don't think it's a delay issue, to be honest. So I'll leave that there for a moment. And I think if the delay were, say, watch, we'll just push this way out, watch. So we'll save that. And what I believe is going to happen is when we click save, there still will be no animation. So Debman, I'm kind of going off of your suggestion here. I think this is just going to delay for a really long time, and then we'll feel like our database save is taking forever. There'll still be no animation. and then it's just going to poof out of existence. That's what I think is going to happen. I could be wrong. I've been wrong several times today. And it won't be the last. It will not be the last, trust me. Oh, I didn't even realize Bootstrap had spinners. I must have clicked on that by accident, but that's interesting. Squirrel, right? Let's see, add new record, delay, test, blah, blah, blah. Save, and then 1,000, 2. So this is, see what I mean about the delay? So the delay is actually taking place already. And then when StateHasChanged gets called, after all of the delays have fired and this database is saved, then it goes away. So the order of operations is a little different for when we're saving, because it has other tasks to do besides just close the editor. So it's not going to save the change, re-render the page, await the editor, close, re-render the page. It does the whole thing. It does all of this. And it's like, okay, all these tasks are finally done. Then we can re-render. So it was a good thought experiment, but it did prove that task delay is probably not the proper solution for this. We should probably have a timer, and I might go through the headache of setting up a timer on another show and doing that properly so we can reuse that UI in other places, and that task delay won't keep catching us like that, because we really want to be able to call close editor from anywhere and just have it work. And with that task delay in there, it's really hacky and it's causing other things to be delayed, and that's not what we want, right? So we'll probably go back and refactor that out. In the meantime, let's see how this UX pattern works for saving a record. Good stuff, though. I think I'm going to go ahead and close these panels out. Get that back out of the way. I don't need both of them side by side anymore. It's nice when you're doing a lot of work back and forth, but we're kind of just bouncing back and forth a little bit now, not so much. Let's see what happens when we display the message inner box. Let's see here. I'm going to close all this out. I think we're about ready to also wrap up the show for the day. We're going to run this guy, see if it at least is a palatable solution, and then maybe we'll do some fixing at a later date. So we can add it. Get a location in there, save, and oh, I forgot to take the thing out again. Let's go back one more time. Scroll down. I keep forgetting, like, I don't want to close the editor. Like, that's not... We're trying something different. Just see how it works for now. And I keep forgetting that we did that. So, ooh, I don't like the close button being there. So that saves successfully, and then we can close. That close button works. As long as that is the only task that we're awaiting, it's fine. It is when there are multiple tasks that is an issue. So that close button works okay. Still not the ideal setup, though. I don't like this. I don't like it, although I think it's more the close button being where it is. I think if we're going to do this, maybe we don't have the save there anymore, or maybe we just don't have the close button at all and then use this close button up here. I think that makes it look better. This does leave it open for multiple editing, data entry. So in this scenario, I can edit multiple times. We might want to do something to hide that if we start a new item. Something to be thought about, but not something I'm going to tackle today. So I've got all this junk data in here too. So I got 2 pages of stuff, but just to show you how this works, if you're new and didn't see some of the previous shows, what's really cool, and I explained it just a minute ago, I can come into my SQL Server Object Explorer, make sure I get the right window, get my app to stop running, let it close out, and then in my databases, I've got some local DB stuff going on here. I'm going to grab my database, and without questioning my sanity, I can go ahead and say delete, close all existing connections. Okay, I just deleted my entire database. But then I can come back here and can control F5, and as soon as I get a dialog box for my command line, come on command line, it will pop up here soon, I promise. Compiling. This is ready. It says ready. Oh, there it goes. Build succeeded. You will see in the window here, it's hard to see, it goes fast. I can scroll back up though. Stop. All right. You can see it runs all of these queries on my database. And it says create table, so it's going to make new tables, repopulate all the data, and now my app is up and running, back to normal, and I don't have a bunch of garbage data in it. So I can select my locations, and I don't have any issues anymore. I don't have any garbage data in there. So that's a really cool feature of Entity Framework that we kind of picked apart on the last show. The source code for this is up on GitHub. I will publish this latest branch. Let's see what we've got here. I may not publish the current changes to this form because it's still kind of in limbo, but the last commit that we did is up online. Let's go to our branch. It is not online. Let's publish this branch. We are currently refactoring the admin section. So that's the branch we are on right now. So refactoring the admin section is the current branch if you want to check out the app on GitHub. The app is called Blazport. It will be a really nice app by the time we're done tinkering around with it. There's some getting started instructions in there. You do need a trial for the Telerik UI for Blazor components that we're using in here. Put both methods on click. Oh, yeah, we might have to. I think, so sorry I didn't see these suggestions until now. Putting both methods on save click, that would be still, I think, the same thing. As long as all of those tasks exist inside of the save location, even if you queued them up in... So if I had my save button and I clicked save, so it'd be on valid submit, I would have, the suggestion was we can use lambdas in here, and we could trigger essentially 2 functions to run. But I still think that the event callback that triggers these would... I don't even know if we could do this. Yeah, it doesn't seem to like that. Oops, I'm not doing it right. I think the event callback that triggers these is what is going to give us the context of that delay firing properly or not. So it still all happens under the same event callback, I believe. So it will do these and then one re-rendering. So it will do all of everything that's in there still and do one re-render. And then again, it's hacky at best. It's really hacky. And if I just went ahead and bit the bullet and put a timer in there and quit being stubborn, then I don't want that there. I think that would fix it because the timer happens out of process. So it will do all the async and yada, yada, yada. And then the timer's ticking away and the timer will go off. And the timer will say, oh, by the way, you need to close the form now. And then it will close. So the animation will happen. The timer will sit and tick away. All the awaits will be done. And then the timer will time out. And the timer will close the window and manually trigger state has changed. Yeah, it's a rabbit hole I don't want to go down. I think timer is probably the better scenario. The task delay got us that far. It kind of got us to the next step, but we need to make it better and move on, I think. So I might tackle that offline. Don't know if that's something that we need to do on the show, but I'd like to work on some more of the app on the show and not fixate on that too much, I don't think. It is in a working condition. It does look okay. We did get our window animation working for the most part. So I think that was pretty cool. Let's see if we've got anybody in Twitch land that we can go raid. It's very strange. I think I'm seeing some people that raided me earlier still online, or my UI is not refreshing. Clark.io is online now. We can go raid Clark. Clark's a good guy. We've raided him before. So I want to thank everybody again that came on the show in the chat room and offered advice, opinions, and all that good stuff. We've had a lot of good chatter today. Lots of great raids. Thanks to Jeff Fritz and Corey and Jesse for raiding today. It was amazing. We got a lot done. We got a really cool UI piece done. We'll style this all out too and make it look really nice eventually. So that flyout panel will be part of multiple pages, I think. It'll help clean up our index page we've got here. If we look at our index page, we have a similar scenario again. We've got a form, we've got a display. We can move this off the page and have different areas that we click on our UI surface and have these flyout panels where we can add information. So good stuff. That's all I've got for today, guys. Let's go ahead and see what Clark is up to. Join me next week on Wednesday. If you want to check out the bits on GitHub, they are on GitHub under Blazport. This is the link here to my GitHub account. So if you follow that link, it should be one of the... Yeah, it's the top repository right there so far. Or no, sorry, that's Blazedown. That's another one. Let's look under repos here. Get you to the right one, I promise. Blazport is at the top of the list of repositories because it's the newest. So thank you, DevMan NL. There's the exact link if you want it. We are on the Refactor admin branch. Make sure you follow the requirements. Grab the Telerik packages if you want to try those out. You won't be able to run the app without them. It is a free trial for 30 days, so you can follow along with the show and hack away at it. There's really cool stuff under startup and whatnot, and migrations for SQL now. And our code that we wrote today is up there. So let's jump into Clark's show. We'll see you Wednesday. May start early again. I'm trying to get some more of this app done. The conference is coming up soon. I'm going to present at. So I want to kind of get this finished soon. Thanks, everybody. Take care.